Jai Hind. The topic on which today lecture is Federation in Cloud. I am Vikash. I am from Assistant Professor in Department of Computer Science and Engineering. These are the contents of my presentation. What is Federation is there? How the Cloud Federations works? What are the various benefits with respect to federations are there? And types of federations we are there and we can use it. Then the topic that the definition with respect to federation is that it's a union, or you can say combinations of the various small entities that work together in order to perform on a common goal or work towards the common goals are there. So as definition is, it's a combination of diverse things so that they can act as a one. This federation is a union of several smaller parts that perform in a common actions are there. So the question that is being arises why we need federations in the clouds are there. As we know that whoever the cloud service providers are there, they have the finite resources are there, and in order to tackle the or you can say in order to queries of the customers demands they cannot fulfill at any particular point of times are there. So in order to manage those queries or manage those requests, these cloud services providers combine together form in a hybrid services there that is called generally as federations are there, in which they uses their all services resources there, and if the resources demands has been increases, in that case they can use the resources of the other services providers are there. So in terms of that, we say it's an union of the various services providers which work together and provides resources to the users or consumers on the basis of their demands are there. So this is the example where we have this is the service provider is there. Okay, so these are service provider 1, 2, and 3 are there. This is the end users are there. And this is the federated clouds are there, in which we have combinations of various services providers which combine together and provide the services to the consumers are there. So depending upon the requirement of the users, they can choose the wide variety of the services depending upon the service provider 1, 2, and 3 are there. They can choose service provider 1 and 2 and fulfill their needs or requirements are there. So Federation Cloud is also known as the Cloud Federations, is a deployment and management of multiple external and inter-cloud computing services to match the business needs are there. Here multiple external and internal means the services are being with respect to their premises are there, which we say private is there. And external means with the public services that they can use it from the other service providers are there. So here in this we will creating the hybrid cloud computing environment in which we can use the wide varieties of the services from the different services providers are there. Because as already I told you that the any services provider don't have the limited don't have the infinite resources are there. So it is an important note that Federation Cloud services still rely on the existence of the physical data centers are there. Okay, so the obviously thing is they need the resources from the this one, and this one, and so on are there. So what are the various benefits with respect to cloud federations are there? Cloud federation resources allow the client to optimize the enterprise IT services deliveries are there. And the Federation Cloud's resources allow a client to choose the best cloud services providers in terms of flexibility and availability of services to meet a particular business or a technological needs with their organizations. Are there? Another benefits is federations across the different cloud service resources. Pools allow applications to run in the most important appropriate infrastructure environments. Are there? Or another benefit is Federation Cloud resources allow the and enterprises to distribute workload around the globe. So in cloud services, there are various similar terms are being used, like your interclouds are there. We have a federated clouds are there. OpenStacks are being used there, in which we collaborate the resources from the different service providers and give the services to the consumer and the users are there, depending upon their demands and needs are there. So why we need of these kind of services are there? As I told you, the resources are not finite. Infinites are there. And also is that it's not necessary, and as a cloud service provider, one is having the footfall in the geographical area of X locations are there. So at that locations, with the help of the broker, they can cloud service provider can provide the services, and that X particular geographical locations are there. So it depends upon the user requirements. It also depends upon the what kind of resources they are providing, and how in which geographical locations they have to be there. So on the basis of that, these definitions, intercloud, cloud federations in clouds works together. Moreover, similars are there, where in which we have the hybrid environment in which the different service providers work together in order to achieve the common goals is there, where that is to provide the services to the consumers are there or the users are there, depending upon the it is standalone users are there, whether depending upon the IT consumers are there, depending upon whether they are using the platform services or the infrastructure services are there. Okay, so how we are going to cloud federations and implementations. One of the major weakness that occurs in the cloud federation is that the kind of the deployments of their servers are there, and we need and a certain allocate the address mechanisms, or the internet IP addresses are to be allocated to these different services providers are there. And another problem that we can face while implementing the cloud federation is, do we need to create or you can say, do we need a different user ID and login for every time that they have to access those services are there. So one of the weaknesses that exists in federations of the cloud resources is the difficulty in connectivity between clouds and the given external cloud provider, as they possess their own unique network address schemes are there. So in order to resolve these issues, the cloud provider must grant client the permission to specify an address scheme for each service the cloud provider has external to the internets are there. It means the cloud service providers have the external resources are being using there. The provider of the customer to the ability of the to the access cloud services without the need of reconfigurations when the resources from the different services providers are there. It means the customers need not to reconfigure their systems if they are using the services from the different services providers are there. Or let's suppose one services from one service provider one, they are using it, and for the another resources they are using the resources of service provider 2 is there. So there should not be any reconfiguration has to be happens. That has to be done by the cloud federations are there. And cloud federation also can be used using the firewall, which provide the clients with the help of many of the cloud services, and they can use those trusted entities in order to provide the services are there. Another that we can use, as I told you, that we can have the common user ID is being used for the authentications. Whenever the cloud consumers enter into the federation's login, and by entering the user ID and password, it enter into the that is front end of the federation's cloud, where the user can see the wide variety of services, and on the basis of that services, they can use the whatever the services are there, they can avail it, they can purchase it, they can buy it, and use those services are there. So they no need not to provide the or access the, or you can say they need not to log in again and again if the service providers are the different services. So the only one client user ID password, they can use it and they can enter into the systems are there. So at 4 level of the federations can happen. So creating a cloud federation involves research and development at different levels. Conceptual levels are there, logical and operations levels are there, and infrastructure levels are there. In conceptual level, we generally talk about what kind of federations are there, why the user has to go to the federations are there, and what kind of services they will access in the conceptual levels are there. Then the second and third one, that is logical and operations, where what kind of services that has to be provided to the users, how they are going to combine together, what are the operational problems that can be arises, and how they are going to overcome those that can happen in those levels are there. And at the infrastructure levels, what kind of infrastructures are being provided to the consumers, that we has to be discussed in that. So cloud federations can be implemented at 4 levels: conceptual, logical and operation, and infrastructure levels are there. So these are the 4 levels, where conceptual levels is there, where we have to motivate, what are the advantage, opportunity and obligations are there. Then in logical and operations level, what models that we have to use, what cloud services that we have to provide, what are the SLAs are there, depending upon their SLAs from the different services providers that are being aggregated by the brokers, what kind of price or where they can use those services there are there. So what kind of market that they are targeting are there. That infrastructure level, we have protocols what are to be needed, because they have the servers are kept at different locations are there, different data centers are there. So what kind of protocols, interface standards that we have to implement in the infrastructure levels are there. So conceptual levels address the challenges in presenting a cloud federations as a favorable solution with respect to use of services leased by a single cloud providers are there. Why it is being? Because as I told you, the single cloud service provider don't have the infinite resources. So it is in this level, it is important to clearly identify the advantage for either service provider or the consumer in joining the federation, and we need to outline the new opportunity that federated environment created with respect to the single provider solutions are there. If we have the combine the two different services providers, then we will able to better provides the better services to the users are there, apart from the single services providers are there. So here the element of concerns at this levels: motivation of cloud provider to join the federations, motivation for the services consumer to these to leverage of the if federations are there. What are the advantages to be provided if they use their services are there? What are the obligations are there once they have to join this. Federations are there. What are the trust agreement between the providers and the consumers are there, and the transparency versus between the your consumers are there. Another level is that logical and operational level. In logical and operational level, federated cloud identify and addresses the challenges in a planning a framework that enables the aggregations of a provider that belongs to different administrative domain with the context of single overlay infrastructure, which is cloud federations are there. At this level, policies and rules for the inter operations are defined. Moreover, this is the layer at which the decisions are made as to how they are and how what kind of lease services is to be provided to the users are there. Another things that can happen is logical components defines a context in which agreements provided among the providers are settled, services are negotiated, whereas the operations components characterize the shapes of the dynamics behavior of the federation as the result of the single provider's choices. In the when the NIST has defined the architecture of the cloud services are there, in which there are 5 players are there: service provider, consumer, auditors, carriers, and the cloud brokers are there. So one of the main work of the cloud broker is to aggregate the various services are there. Okay, so in the while they aggregate the various services, they can provide the better services to the consumers are there. So generally in federations, what we do, these brokers have the great interactions with the different services providers are there, while they merge it. While they have the SLAs between these services providers are there. Once the SLAs are being defined or identified, or you can say they are being agreed upon, the common goals are there, then they can merge those services and provide to the users are there. So after once the they are being aggregated, the logical and operational level at that level, what kind of frameworks that we have to create, or what kind of identity or addressing that has to be identified, and that those needs to be overcome there. So at logical and operational levels, we have to overcome those challenges, like frameworks, address mechanisms are there. What are the policies, rules, or regulations has to be defined in order to provide the services to the consumers are there. Another is infrastructure level. At the infrastructure level, the address these addresses the technical challenges involved in enabling the heterogeneous, or you can say hybrid cloud computing systems to interoperate seamlessly. So it deals with the technology barriers that keep the separate cloud computing systems belonging to the different administrations domain are there. By creating the standardized protocols or interface, we can overcome these barriers are there. So at this level, it is important to address the following issues. What kind of standard we should be use? How should we design the interface and protocols to design for the interoperations are there? It means, let's suppose for the one applications that we have to deploy it, we are using for the class service provider 1, and for the another application we have to use the service provider 2, or the another scenario is there, one applications, one part is implementing at the service provider 1 and another part is implementing at the service provider 2. So what kind of protocols or design interface must be there, so that these two can work together as in one single entity and provide the services to the consumers are there. So another things that we have to address, which are the technologies to use for the interoperations are there. How can we how can we rely on software systems, design, platform, components, and the services enabling in the interoperations are there. So these things that we need to take into care while creating a federation of clouds at this levels are there. So generally, this is a crux, or you can say uh, overall picture with respect to the federations, where the different federations are different cloud services are combined together in order to provide the services to the users are there. So they are being implemented at the four levels. First one is your computation levels are there. Second and third are logical operations levels are there, and the fourth level is infrastructure levels are there. So in this, these are the things that we need to take into considerations for in order to provide the interoperations are there. Here we have to aggregate the services, create a model, federated models are there, and the what kind of cloud services, what kind of agreements that we have, what kind of pricings that we have, and what kind of SLAs that we have to are there between the different services providers are there. And in this level, why we have to go for the federations are there, what needs to motivate, and what kind of opportunity, what kind of advantage, what kind of obligations of the providers to the users are there. So at these are the four levels through which we can implement the federations of the clouds are there. So federation generally means it's a union of different small entities, and they work on the common goals are there. So why we need to choose the federations cloud? There are load balancings. For the load balancing we can use, for the capacity management we can use, prevention of the various lock-in periods we can use, prevention from the power outage we can use these cloud federations are there. We have an efficient use of surplus resources are there, and scaling of the data is there are there. Okay, so here if we say load balancing, it means the network traffic is being balanced between the different services providers are there. Let's suppose the one services are being request has been coming from the one users, that can be directed to the service provider one, and for the another users that can be directed to the another service provider is there. So we can load the balances of the networks are there. Capacity management is also being done by the in the federations are there. It means kind of resources that we have, and how we are going to manage those resources, that can be done in capacity management are there. Here prevention from the vendor lock-in is there. If we have a standalone services providers are there, then we have a lock-in period for that particular vendors are there. But in the federations cloud, it is a hybrid. We can switch from one vendor to the another vendors easily are there. And then we have a prevention from the power outage and failures. If one service providers are being are down due to any reason, whether it's the power failure or the human or natural calamities are there, other service provider can overtake that or provide the services to the users are there. As we have an abundance of resources, surplus resources are there, so we can efficiently use those resources as comparatively if we have a single services providers are there. And we have a scaling data other to the other CSP, any cloud service providers are there. If the services are being used, let's suppose my services are there, and for any particular users that needs to be scale up or scale down, that can be easily done with the help of the cloud federations are there. So by due to these advantage, we can use the cloud federations are also there. So this is the examples where we have a hybrid approach where public and private clouds are being used. We have a service provider 1, 2, and 3 are there, and here this self-service portals are there with the users are interacting with this self portals are there, and they are creating these. So here we have a private networks are there. Here we have a public networks are there. So they merge together and provide the services to the users are there. This is another systems is there where cloud federations are there, where we have Amazon is generally have the marketplace where they aggregate the services from the different services providers are there, and now user can log into cloud market of the AWS, and they can see the different kind of services are there. They have the services from the AWS are there. They have the services from the Azure is there. They can see the services of the Google's are there. So depending upon the needs and requirements of the users, they can choose the services from the either this from the A service provider, from the B service provider, and so on are there. So choices are being given to the users in order to access the services over the cloud platforms are there. So in this marketplace, you can go into the AWS cloud marketplace where not only the AWS, Azure, Google Clouds, they have the different services from the different services providers are there. Like IBM's are there. They have the HP services are being used, or the clouds are there that can be defined by user can access those services are there. So they can search it, select the compare this offer, and choose those services are there. They can also create their create and provision the workload according to their requirements are there. They can consolidate usage data billing across the providers are there. They just need to log into this cloud marketplace, and they can have the access from the different services are there. And once they are logged into this, they can have the wide variety of the services, and they can choose out of these services are there. Okay. So thank you. This is the cloud federations. So cloud federation is union of the various small entities which work together at the common goals are there. You can also check it. The interclouds is there, which is also in a combinations are there. So there are certain differences are between them that we can discuss in later on also. Thank you.